Hello, my name is Baker-Falealili, and the theme for this video essay is medievalism in fashion, specifically designer collections. The central argument for this essay is, in designer collections such as Dolce & Gabbana's 2014 Autumn/Winter collection and Alexander McQueen's 2010 Fall collection, the Middle Ages is portrayed as romantic. The first example for this argument is Dolce & Gabbana's 2014 Autumn/Winter collection. In this collection, Dolce & Gabbana definitely gave the observers the feel of the Middle Ages. They did this by mixing princesses, owls, foxes, squirrels, swans, and frogs throughout the fashion show. In the women's collection, some of the clothing included riding hood capes, forest green skirts, and corsets. Vogue described the outfits as something you could see Sleeping Beauty wearing. In both the women and men's collection, outfits consisted of balaclavas, crowns, gauntlets, corsets, armor, and even pictures of kings/knights on the fabrics. The name of this collection is Enchanted Sicily, and Dolce & Gabbana were asked by many people what their inspiration for this collection was. They said they were inspired by a dream one of them had one night that dealt with fairy tales. They wanted to bring that dream about fairy tales to life. When people think of fairy tales, they usually think of the Middle Ages and the princes and knights that lived in that time period. Dolce & Gabbana used those myths and fairy tales from the Middle Ages to romanticize and bring to life the dream they had about a fairy tale. To bring this fairy tale to life, they also decided to use an enchanted garden as the background of the fashion show. Evidence that can be used to help support this argument is Eco's first, second, and fourth rule. Eco's first rule is Middle Ages as a pretext. This rule states that there is no real interest in the historical background. Dolce & Gabbana definitely did not use historical background, but used the Middle Ages as a selling point for their audience. The fourth rule is Middle Ages of romanticism. Dolce & Gabbana romanticized the outfits that females wore in order to make it more attractive to the audience. Outfits that they wore would have never been worn in the Middle Ages. The second rule is ironical revisitation, where you revisit the Middle Ages as a heroic fantasy. They didn't really use this rule too much, but they did use it when they dressed the females in armor instead of the men, which could also tie into them romanticizing the Middle Ages. Example number 2 is Alexander McQueen's 2010 Fall collection. In this collection, Alexander McQueen was inspired by the art of the Dark Ages and saw the light and beauty in the art. He noted that people usually showed the barbaric and aggressive side of the Middle Ages, but he wanted to highlight the poise and beauty in the Dark Ages. The outfits that he designed encompassed both romanticism and religion during this time period. Some of the fabrics used had saints and other religious figures printed on them. Sadly, Alexander McQueen passed before he could finish this collection. His colleagues said that he was going for the medieval beauty look with relation to religious iconography. Evidence that can be used to back up this example of Alexander McQueen's 2010 Fall collection is Eco's fourth rule, Eco's eighth rule, and Eco's 10th rule. Eco's fourth rule is Middle Ages of romanticism, and this goes with McQueen's theme for the collection, which was to encompass both romanticism and religion during this period. The eighth rule is Middle Ages of philological revisitation. In this rule, Eco states that, in this case, no one would speak of medieval fashion, not full freely from the curiosity of the mass media. I feel like Alexander McQueen and even other designers proved this rule wrong, due to the fact that they are in the fashion industry, in which they are able to show their version of medieval fashion to the mass media. Eco's 10th rule is the expectation of the millennium. This relates to the designers and their collections because they are presenting what they expected the Middle Ages to look like from their perspective, and also continuing everyone else's ideas of what they thought the Middle Ages looked like. In conclusion, both fashion designers were successful in accomplishing their goal of romanticizing the Middle Ages.